This is Tony and Horton's place. You see the road, and then there's the house, then the garage, then the barn, and circled in red is the shop. And that area of the shop has the butchering area. It's got a walk-in cooler, stainless steel tables, grinders, cube steak processor, burger grinder, and a machine for filling plastic tubes full of hamburger. This is the meat locker, the walk-in cooler. There are 2 cows hanging here. Each one is divided into 4 quarters, so there are 8 quarters, and so each chunk you see is a quarter. Now Horton paid some guy to come out to his place and kill the cows, gut them, and quarter them. Then they hung them up in the locker. Then Horton sold the quarters to whoever wanted to buy them, and then you had to show up on Saturday and help cut up your own meat the way you wanted. For instance, a T-bone, you can cut as a T-bone, or you can divide it up into New York strips and a tenderloin. And for instance, Horton didn't care for a lot of roasts. He wanted more hamburger than roast, so that's what Tony and Horton did. And it was kind of a group effort. Certain people had certain jobs, but whoever had the quarter that was being worked on called the shots in terms of how they wanted it cut up. Joanne and I split a quarter with her sister Chris. Well, this is Horton's brother Jim. He's got a quarter laying on the table and he's making some initial cuts. We got to get this big hunk down to something a little bit more manageable. This is a whole quarter laying on the table, and Jim is getting ready to put a hacksaw to it to cut it down to a little smaller piece. No one in this room has ever cut up and processed a cow before, including Jim and Horton. However, they had watched a video the day before on how to do this. And Jim's got the hacksaw. Horton has a piece of paper that shows a diagram of the cow, and they're trying to figure out what angle to use this hacksaw to cut up this cow, and Tony's watching on. And everybody was having a good time. Now, in the next scene, you'll see a video of the discussion between Jim and Horton about how they should cut this cow up.
Because the hip bone, that's where we take the sore and auger off.
Yep. There, you got some spine here too. You got two vertebrae of spine. There ain't no spine here, is there?
You're in the right spot, Jim, unless you go that way.
There you go.
See, on this though, that's not.
I think you're coming like this. I think you're coming, which one are you making, this cut right here? This one.
Nobody knows what they're doing.
Oh, yeah. I cut down here.
I think it was like this.
We'll practice on yours. Remember?
Yeah, let's practice on Jim's.
Yeah.
We're gonna take the hip, because this right here, I was pretty good on my first sketch.
So what do you want for steak?
That's
Or
good. Right there, let it go.
You want arm roast?
This isn't right.
No,
You want that rope, you want that rope around the back of the bone.
Your arm
Mhm. The backbone, you know what you do, venison, you got that rope right there.
That's your
Yeah,
bone.
yeah, you can cut across there and then you'll still have that rope on that bone.
Yeah, because then we square it up like this.
We eat far more hamburger than anything. So, but,
It's more like this.
look at me, I'm always begging for more.
God, it seems too far forward.
Well, here's Jim cutting up this big piece into something a little bit more manageable. Now we have a whole bunch of manageable sections laying on the table, ready to be cut up into steaks or whatever. Poor Samson. He knows what's going on in there. They're making all this meat and he's hungry. He wants in. He's just dying to get in. After this, we're going to see a video of Tony calling the shots to tell her brother-in-law Jim how thick to cut the steaks.
You want an inch?
1 inch.
See what
the stakes just came off the bandsaw. Look inside that red circle, you'll see a really nice looking porterhouse. Joanne is in the background. She's trimming a lot of the fat off of these steaks once they came off of the bandsaw. Now we're looking at the trimming table. That's Horton's dad in the blue shirt. People bring him some of the junk meat, the stuff that's still very edible, but it's not a good roast and it's not a good steak. And he takes that and trims out the big chunks of fat and the bones and throws it in that plastic tray that's on the floor. And the good stuff that's left over goes in the plastic tray on the table. And that will all be ground up into hamburger. No one's going to keep me out of this place while all that meat chopping is going on, says Samson. He did finally sneak in. Now this bin is full of junk meat. This is all going to be dumped out in the field, out away from the house, and the coyotes are going to come to get it. And the coyotes think it's going to be a good deal, but Horton and his rifle say it won't be, and he's going to kill those dudes as they come to get the meat. In the background you see Ella and her friend Sydney. They're waiting to grind up hamburger. You'll see a video following this where the punks are grinding up the burger. They're doing the first grind, which is a coarse grind. You see big chunks of fat in there. And once they're done with that, the grinding machine will be reconfigured to make a fine grind so the hamburger will look like what you buy at the store. I hope you enjoyed this copyrighted film. It has been approved by the USDA and President Obama.